Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to use the nuclear tech mod. This series won't really be that linear because this episode I'm starting with the ZIRNOX nuclear reactor because that's the first thing I really had any trouble with in this mod. Let me set it to peaceful really quick because I freaking hate slimes. Okay. So to craft it, I'll grab it out. It's 4 steel shells, 8 steel pipes, 8 boron ingots, 16 graphite, 16 rubber, 16 concrete, and then 4 ICBs. This thing is actually relatively easy to make compared to the other reactors, other than maybe like the, RT generator? Yeah, the RT generator, yeah. That's also a nuclear reactor, but it's kind of trash. So this is what it'll look like when you make it. I'll just give you a bit of a rundown on how to make it if you're in survival. So the steel is easy. You just kind of make it using coal and iron in the blast furnace. Give me a second. Yep. So you just get a blast furnace, and I recommend combining iron ore with coal. Coal coke, sorry. That's just the best way to gives you the best yields. It's not showing the recipe, but yeah, here it is. An iron ore plus a coal coke or lignite coke will give you 3 steel ingots, which is like the best returns early game. Coal coke, you just to get that, you just put coal inside of a combination oven, which is also really easy to make. So once you have the steel, boron might be a bit difficult. Boron you can just get by cyclotron is very late game. So is the silex. I kind of forget how you get boron. I think you can just... Yeah, you can get it from putting rare earth chunks into the either the centrifuge or the anvil. It's not showing the recipe here, but if you have an anvil, I think it's a tier 2 or a tier 1. You get some rare earth chunks. These are very common in the just when you're mining. And then search rare earth. Yeah, it's this recipe here. Just shift click and you get some boron fragments, which you can I think you can smelt them down. It's one of the more common rare earths. Yeah, you shred it, get these boron powders, then you can combine it into boron powder and then smelt that into boron ingot. That's how you get the boron for the reactor. And then graphite is pretty self-explanatory. Where did I get that from? Whoops. You just kind of put a flat stamp without any mold on top of a coke, a coal or lignite coke, which I just showed you how to get. Rubber bar, this one's also pretty easy. It's just unsaturated hydrocarbons and sulfur. Sulfur you'll have an abundance of it by this point. And unsaturated hydrocarbons you can just get by refining oil. Cracked oil. Refining cracked oil. So you'll need a cracking machine. Or just you'll need a catalytic cracking tower. These are pretty easy to make. Neobium you get from rare earth, just like how I showed you. So you'll need a cracking tower and a refinery by this point. So you'll have to be pretty mid-game at this point. You need to be in the oil age. I'll probably show that in another video. Okay. Concrete's also pretty easy. It's just these ingredients inside the chemical plant. Concrete is also pretty easy. Make sure to mine up a bit of limestone while you're in the mines. And the last thing is ICBs, which are also pretty easy. you'll just need silicon. So that also means you'll need the electric arc furnace to make this thing, because you need to get silicon, which you get by putting quartz inside the electric arc furnace. Just regular quartz. Yeah, that's about it. These two are just pretty easy. Let's get some lead wire and some PCBs. Okay, now that you have the ZIRNOX generator, or reactor, this thing is really cheap to run. It's not exactly self-sustaining, but it'll last you, it'll give you like a good 30 minutes of a lot of power. So you'll need some other things alongside of it. You'll need 3 steam turbines. I recommend having 3. And you also need some wire. Wait, I think it's called cable. Yeah, red copper cable. Tube. No, fluid pipes, sorry. And condenser. You'll need some carbon dioxide, which is pretty easy to get with the where's the element? I'll just get a bunch of this, which is pretty easy to get with the chemical plant. It's just natural gas, which you'll get from the oil derrick or the pump jack directly. And you'll need just a bit of water. You don't really need that much. I think that's about it. Oh, and you'll need like a load of uranium. And you'll also need zirconium too. Just regular uranium. You don't need the isotopes or anything. And you'll need a bunch of zirconium to make the ZIRNOX rods. Let's get the zirconium cube. You can get this from rare earth ore, I believe, as well. Zirconium splinter. You'll probably have splinters. Yeah, you just centrifuge rare earth. It looks like you get a bunch of zirconium. You'll need. I recommend getting like. Let me do the math here. So you'll need. 24 of these ZIRNOX rods. So what is that? 12. And you need to craft it 6 times. So 6 times 6. You'll need 36 zirconium splinters. At least. And then you'll need the beryllium, which is just a natural ore, to make the ZIRNOX rods. So you'll need these ZIRNOX fuel rods, and then you'll need to craft them into uranium. You'll need to craft all 24 of them into uranium fuel rods, which you get with just by making uranium billets, by just crafting the uranium ingots into nuggets, and then placing them like the silicon wafers. Anyway, so you'll need 24 of these. They don't stack, so just be careful of that. And also be wary of the radiation. If you make the highest tier, I didn't do this myself in my playthrough. I just like I had backpacks so I could keep the radiation out of my inventory. But what you can do is get the hazmat suit. This top tier one is pretty cheap, and it like pretty much shields you from radiation entirely almost. It's really hard to get radiation poisoning unless if you're holding like depleted rods or something, and they're pretty cheap. If you're at this stage of the game, they're pretty cheap considering. So just make a set of that if you want. Okay, now it's time to build. First, I would get this to 10 buckets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get that to 10 buckets. You don't want it too high or too low. Too low will cause a meltdown, and too high will cause a meltdown. You don't want too much pressure, that's what I'm saying. And then you'll want a bit of water. It doesn't really matter how much, you just can't have too little. And then now it's time to put the rods in. Just put them all in. You don't have to put them all in. You can make the, if you can make the other types of rods, go ahead, but they're not really as good as these ones, in my opinion. These ones are like really cheap. They last a long time. As you can see, it says last 250,000 ticks, which is like the highest out of all the ZIRNOX rods, but it generates like the least amount of heat, I think, so you need a lot of them, but they're like insanely cheap and they're reusable, so just kind of fill up all the slots. Put 10 buckets of carbon dioxide in. Just put a bit of water in here. Not too much. I like to just fill it above halfway, and that'll keep you safe from a meltdown. I'm just going to get the universal fluid. You'll need a fluid identifier, but if you're at this point in the game, you'll know that. Yeah, that's enough. Okay, so get a fluid pipe in, and this is where the super dense steam is going to go. So super dense steam will come straight out of the reactor and into this steam turbine, which will generate power. And then this steam turbine will release dense steam, which we can also use on another steam turbine, which is pretty cool. So dense steam go in here. So, and then out of here will come steam, which we can use another turbine for. I don't think you actually have to put pipes between these, but I'm doing that anyway, just so you can clearly see what's going on. Steam, and then in will go steam. Yep, it's already like that. And then low pressure steam, which we can't do anything with, I don't think. I don't think it generates any power. So we'll put it into a condenser, which will turn back into water, which will go back into here. I keep getting rid of this. Low pressure steam, and then water will go into here. Don't worry about that, that won't affect anything, I don't think. So it'll be recycled. And then we're ready to turn it on. Make sure to connect these up so you grab the power out of these. But I don't really have any machines around right now, so I'll just put like a Li-ion battery or something. See how fast it charges it. Should be pretty fast, I think. So turn on the reactor with this button here. Make sure not to press this unless if you have too much carbon dioxide in here, because what this button does is releases 1 bucket of carbon dioxide. And if you have too little carbon dioxide, I think the temperature will go up way too high, and then it'll explode and destroy everything. So I'll just turn it on, and then you should see both of these goes to the middle. I don't know why that's not straight up. Maybe it's too much water or something. I don't know. Not enough. But you'll see this is getting charged like relatively quickly. 150 kilo HEs, whatever. I don't know what HE stands for, but that's a lot, especially for like mid game. These rods will last you like a good 30 minutes. I read on the wiki that there is something to do with their placement inside the reactor, depending on how fast they'll get depleted. So like, since these middle reactors are surrounded by the most these middle rods, sorry, are surrounded by the most rods, so they'll get depleted faster. but these outer ones, they get depleted slower because they have less rods surrounding them. I think that's how it works, but I'm not too sure about that. I just like to let it run like this, and it'll give you like a lot of power. Still not enough power to run a cyclotron or something, but a decent amount. Alrighty, the last thing is that I think I've done a whoopsie, and I think these only really charge at 150 kHz a second. No, never mind. Yeah, okay, yeah, this thing only outputs 150 kHz again. Once these are depleted fully, which I'll show by setting the, oh, I don't think there's a tick speed. Yeah, no, there's no tick speed command. Why is it on? Okay. Once these are depleted, they'll turn into depleted natural uranium fuel rods, which I can't really show you. And then you can craft them into depleted natural uranium fuel, which you can put inside the spent fuel drum. I'll just grab one of those out. To use these, you need a bit of water, and then dig a hole. I recommend making at least like 4 of these, especially for this reactor with all the 24 rods. And you just put water on top of them, and they'll make this little particle effect. Apparently, the more water there is on top of them, the faster they work, but I don't know. And then you get your depleted natural uranium fuel. It'll set you on fire, so just watch out for that. And then you just put them inside here, and then you wait for them to turn into for them to cool down. Sorry, and then you can use a centrifuge to break them down into the little isotopes, which you can use to make nuclear bombs, which is cool. Yeah, so I think that should be everything. I might just show a meltdown, I guess. I wonder if these like generate any more power with this. No, they generate less. It generates less power. So I think what I showed you was about the optimal ratio. Yeah, it needs pressure. There we go. It's not generating much power at all now. So yeah, this will be radioactive until you break it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed.